Hello and welcome to Books of Blood. My name is John, and as you can see from the title of this video, I'm going to do something just a little bit different. Alright, so first of all, let me explain to you how I got into making this video, okay? I was watching Jason's Weird Reads, and he did a video on how to get started reading horror. And I commented to him and I said, why did I not think of doing a video like this? And he said, well, I dare you to make one. Well, then somebody else commented and they mentioned something about doing one on extreme horror movies. And I thought, you know what? I think I might try doing something like that. So that being said, let me say this much to you. The reason I call this how I got started with extreme horror movies is because I'm not an expert. You know, I don't know when extreme horror movies started. You know, I just know what I've watched, what I like, what I'm familiar with, and that's what I'm going to talk about here, okay? So that being said, what exactly is extreme horror or extreme cinema? So it is defined by those, by Wikipedia, by Wikipedia as extreme horror, although they say cinema. I'm gonna say horror, but they say cinema, is a genre of film distinguished by its use of excessive violence, torture, and sex of an extreme nature. Now, the films I'm going to talk about here today, there is not a lot of extreme sex. Well, there is a little bit, but not a lot, okay? It's more going to be the violence and the torture and that kind of extreme thing that I'm going to talk about. So, extreme horror. So, let me think. How did I get started with it? I guess the way that I got started with extreme horror was I had just separated from my wife, not the one I'm married to now, but the previous one. She all of a sudden tells me, I want you to move out. So, I'm like, okay. We didn't get along in the first place. It was for the best. Anyway, beside that, getting off on a tangent. I had rented this apartment. It was this small place. I mean, you could even turn around to change your mind in this place, how small it was. So I had a little TV and had a little DVD player. And I had heard about this film directed by a guy named Eli Roth. And the movie, of course, was Hostel. And everybody was talking about how gruesome it is, how violent it is and stuff. This and Hostel 2 to me are now what I would consider to be tame extreme horror. All right. Basically, the premise of this and the premise of Hostel Part 2 and Hostel Part 3, but Eli Roth really had nothing to do with that film. Maybe he didn't direct it or write it. I'm not even sure if he produced it or whatever. Anyway, you have these backpackers. They're traveling across Europe. And they're duped by this one guy. Gosh, what was the guy's name? I can't remember his name. Anyway, he tells them that if you go to this place, I think it's Slovakia. If you go to this place, there are beautiful women. They'll do anything you want and stuff like that. Well, you got these three horny American backpackers, and they're like, yes, let's do this. What they actually run into is an organization that if you pay them enough money, you can go into a room with someone and you can kill them any way you see fit. If you want to cut all their toes off, you can do that, and then the rest of their extremities until they're dead. If you want to eat them alive, you can do that. If you want to decapitate them, you can do that. Whatever you choose to do, you can do it. All right, so like I said, this is pretty tame as far as the extreme horror, the rest of the extreme horror that I'm going to talk about here. On here, because usually what happens is you kind of see the aftermath of the things that happen and not the actual things happening. A few occasions you do see the stuff happening, but most of it is like aftermath stuff, all right? I actually talked to Eli Roth, and Eli said basically he made this because you have it's basically how you got all these Americans that go over to these foreign countries and they think they're absolutely invincible, that nothing can touch them, and he just wanted to basically turn that on its head. I see that. I used to see that when I delivered pizza. I would deliver pizzas to to an all-girls college, and these girls just thought that nothing was going to touch them. You know, they had no fear of anything, like none whatsoever. You know, and I hate to say it, but they're going to be in for a rude awakening. But anyway, I digress. Excuse me. So that is Hostel. All right. So then, like I said, you got Hostel Part 2. This one here is the same thing as Hostel Part 1, except you have 3 girls instead of 3 guys that are captured, assaulted, tortured, and whatever by this group. The group is called Elite Hunting, or I think it's Elite Hunting. Yes, certified by Elite Hunting, shocking and explicit, right there. If you're a member of Elite Hunting, you get a tattoo of like this bloodhound. All right. One of the most horrific scenes in this, and to me disturbed me for a long time, was there's a scene where one of the victims is hanging naked, upside down, and underneath her is this other woman, and she's butt naked too. And this other woman takes a scythe, and she just does this, and slice, 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 until there's just blood raining down on this woman. And I know this in homage to the Countess Elizabeth Bathory, who back during the, 1600s, I believe it was, she would torture and bloodlet these maidens because she felt that the blood made her look younger. Yeah, freaky shit, okay? All right. That's Hostel Part 2. Now, let's talk about one that originally I didn't think that this was an extreme horror film. And then I thought back on it, I said, because I saw it on Wikipedia, I thought, yeah, you know what? It could be. But this director that I'm going to talk about, because of the stuff he's directed nowadays, you would not associate him with being an extreme horror director. And I'm talking about Peter Jackson. Yes, Peter Jackson, that one, the guy that directed the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy, the books, fantasy stories based on the books of J.R.R. Tolkien. And then, of course, remade King Kong. All right. Not the kind of guy that you would associate with being an extreme horror film director until you get to a movie called Brain Dead, a.k.a. Dead Alive. Now, this movie, what is it about? It is about this guy named Lionel. Lionel is this put-upon, milk-toast wuss of a character, of a guy who lives with his mother. She is one freaking domineering, let's just say it, she's a bitch, okay? All right, no offense to anybody, but that's what she is, all right? Let's call it, just call it what it is, okay? So Mom gets bitten by this ugly freaking rat monkey, a Sumatran rat monkey, and she gets turned into a zombie. And then Mom turns around and turns all these other people into zombies. So, what does Lionel do? Lionel has to figure a way to get rid of these zombies. So what does he do? And if you haven't seen this, I'm going to say this right now. There are going to be spoilers a lot of spoilers on this. But what does Lionel do? Lionel modifies a push lawnmower to where he can hold it up with the blade spinning, and he mows through these zombies. It is bloody, it is gory. There are body parts going every freaking where. I mean, I personally think they added extra body parts to people just so they'd have more body parts. It is one of the most bloody scenes you will ever see in any horror movie ever made, and it was directed by that guy that directed the movies about those cute little furry-toed hobbits. All right? Yeah, okay. Moving on. Let's talk a little bit about the movies that I've come to watch that are part of the foreign extreme horror, okay? I've got 4 of them here that I want to talk about. First one is Japanese. This is directed by Takashi Miike. Takashi Miike is one of those directors where if there were a definition of extreme horror in the dictionary, his picture would be stamped right there. I mean, it wouldn't be just stamped, it would be tattooed, it would be burned on or whatever, because the dude has directed some pretty extreme horror films. This one here might even be considered tame, but it's violent. It fits the criteria. You know, there's torture, there is violence, sex parts, nothing to that, nothing to sneeze about. But anyway, it is about this guy that his wife has died, and he and a buddy, so he can pick up or meet another woman. What they do is they fake these auditions. In other words, they advertise these auditions so these girls can come in, advertise for a part in a movie that doesn't exist, so he can look them over and decide, hey, I would like to date this girl or whatever. Well, he meets this girl, and let me see if I can remember if it says her name on here. I want to find out if it says her name. I don't think it does. It does not. Sorry about that. But this girl is, first you meet her and she's sweet, she's well-dressed, she's a lovely girl, all right? And then you cut to a scene where she's sitting on the floor like a little troll looking at her phone, waiting for it to ring. And in the background, there's a sack. And you're waiting. It's just, I don't even think there's any music in the scene if I remember, but she's waiting, just looking at the phone. And you're not concentrating at first on the bag behind her, and all of a sudden the bag moves. It makes this weird noise, like, or something like that. I don't know it's weird, all right? And it freaking rolls over, all right? This chick does things with piano wire that, it will blow your mind, all right? It is nasty to look at, okay? But again, like I said, this movie, Audition, can almost be considered, I'm going to hold it up again, Audition, all right? And this is actually based on a novel also. I believe can't remember, is it Ryu Murakami? I believe so, but if I'm wrong about that, somebody please correct me in the comments, all right? Like I said, the rest of the movies I'm going to talk about, Audition is almost tame compared to these movies. All right, so now we're going to get into what I consider to be my favorite films in the extreme horror genre, and they are all French movies. The first one I'm going to talk about, I'm going to go from my least favorite to my most favorite. When I say least favorite, doesn't mean I didn't love it. I do. But these other two films that I'm going to talk about, they're above it to me, all right? First one we're going to talk about is directed by Javier Gens. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. He's French, okay? I don't speak French. Anyway, this is called Frontiers. All right. So I'm going to read the synopsis after I drop it and have to pick it back up again. Yeah! God, I sounded old just now. Anyway. Alone in a Paris plagued by deadly race riots, the young and beautiful Yasmine is looking for a way out. In her desperation, she turns to her shady ex-boyfriend, Together with his two thug friends, they pull off a bold heist and head for the border. With the police close behind, they hide out in a seemingly peaceful inn. But the mysterious innkeeper is hiding a secret more terrifying than anything they could ever imagine. Trapped in an endless maze of tunnels, crawling with hungry subhuman cannibals, they must fight to survive their bloody initiation into the innkeeper's evil family cult. All right, so what are some of the things that are extreme or gross or nasty in this? One guy gets his head... Okay, you know what? Before I start talking about this stuff, trigger warnings, and I will put in the description that I do have trigger warnings about that stuff I'm going to talk about. You have been warned, okay? So one guy gets his head completely obliterated by a shotgun. Also spoilers, okay? If you haven't seen this, spoilers, sorry about that. Another person gets literally cooked alive in a sauna. And that's just two of the things I can remember. I haven't watched this movie in a long time. I know there are other things in this that I'm just blanking on or whatever. But yeah, that is Frontiers. All right, next up. Now, a lot of people consider this movie to be an absolute masterpiece of the extreme horror genre. I do too, but I think the movie that I'm going to talk about last or the movie I'm going to talk about after it, is, to me, an even greater masterpiece. But anyway, the movie I'm talking about here is Martyrs. And this is directed by Pascal Laugier. All right. Prepare to be shocked, terrified, and awed by one of the most ferocious horror films ever made. Like nothing you've ever witnessed, this harrowing journey starts with two young women hell-bent on avenging the brutal kidnapping torture inflicted on one of them when she was a young girl. What they encounter is a nightmare so terrifying and a mystery so powerful, it will make you question the world as you know it. Brilliantly acted, exquisitely photographed, and boldly conceived, Martyrs represents a new breed of horror film, a stunning masterpiece that transcends the genre. Yes, they're right. This is an absolute masterpiece, okay? So, I don't want to go too far into spoilers, but yeah, basically there is this, in this film, and I'm trying to remember best how to describe them, they are looking for a way to transcend heaven, okay? And they feel that the way to do that is through torture, okay? I'm not going to go into detail about what they do to torture, but it is pretty fucking horrific. Pardon my language. I'm going to cuss in this a lot, okay? You know, I mean, I'm not a Care Bear, okay? You know, I'm a cuss bear. You know, I'm a cuss bear, all right? Anyway, that is Martyrs, okay? Now, last but not least, when I saw this next movie, I'm not ashamed to admit, most horror movies don't scare me anymore. You know, I mean, yes, there's the occasional jump scare, but haha, you know, that's whatever, you know. This one, the character of the femme fatale in this movie, this woman terrified me. And I'm a guy. I'm a dude. I'm a man, okay? Anyway, I'm talking about, and it's directed by who is, I'm trying to pronounce this correctly. Where are their names? Oh my gosh. Okay, Julian Maury and Alejandro Bustillo. And I'm talking about Inside. This is another French horror film. The French know extreme horror. Let me just put it to you that way. They know extreme horror. The films I'm mentioning now are not even there's more out there besides this, okay? Anyway, this is about this woman who is pregnant, and she's going to go into the hospital the next day. It's around Christmas time. I think she's going to go in on Christmas Eve, and they are going to induce labor so she can have her baby and live a nice, healthy, normal life, okay? No. That's not what she's going to do, because you have the femme fatale, and she is played exquisitely well by Beatrice Dahl. Like I said, this woman scared the shit out of me, okay? This woman, the femme fatale, is bound and determined that she is going to take this woman's baby. And I don't mean wait for her to have the baby. Yeah, you get what I'm saying, okay? I mean, she's not going to wait, all right? Let's talk about some of the tamer stuff in this film. Let's see, tamer stuff. Woman gets a pair of scissors through the hand and then driven into a wall. Let me think here. Wow. That might be the tamest damn thing in this movie. I mean, we're talking about, this movie is freaking gruesome as hell. You want torture, you got torture. You want violence, you got violence. Again, like I said, you don't have the sex part, but you don't need it in a movie like this. What makes this even more terrifying, though, is that things like this have actually happened in real life. Back in, what was the 1980s or 90s, there was a woman by the name of Bobby Jo Stinnett, who actually had her baby taken out of her womb while she was still alive, probably not for long. And the baby was the infant, the fetus, whatever you want to call it, was taken, was kidnapped. The woman who did that was actually executed about a month or two, maybe in January, I think. But yes, it happened. It has happened in real life. That makes it even more terrifying. Yes, I think Inside is a masterpiece of extreme horror. All right, now, Everybody has a limit as to what they can watch when it comes to extreme horror. Now, some people can go out there and they can watch the movies like August Underground, the Guinea Pig series, and things like that, and it doesn't bother them, all right? What it says about their mental state, I don't really know. I'm not one to judge. I'm not judging because I watch extreme horror. Anyway, my limit was with the movie A Serbian Film. All right? If you have never seen a Serbian film, first of all, I'm not going to recommend it to you. If you want to watch it, then by all means, try to find a copy and watch it and judge for yourself, okay? You're not going to find it on you're not going to find it on a streaming service. Netflix and things like that will not touch this movie with a 1,000,000-foot pole. Forget it. All right? You may not find the uncut version. I found the uncut version at FYE. Of all places. Okay? I said, okay, I've wanted to see this movie. I bought it, took it home, watched it, took it back. I said, nope, I can't do this. I'm not a wuss when it comes to horror, but yeah, that just pushed all my boundaries, all my buttons, okay? The movie is about a fellow, he's a former or retired porn actor, and he gets called to do one last movie, and it's supposed to be for a pretty huge paycheck. What he doesn't know is that this movie is going to turn out to be a snuff film, all right? The main scene that anybody is going to talk about in this movie, and again, I'm talking spoilers here if you haven't seen it, and I'm almost not ashamed to spoil these things, okay? Especially this movie. An infant is sexually assaulted, okay? Yeah, trigger again. All right, and again, I'm going to put the thing about trigger warnings down in the description below, and I'll also do a pinned comment on it too, but you have been warned. If you want to go watch a Serbian film and you want the uncut version, I'm just trying to prepare you a little bit for what you are going to be in store for. That was my limit as far as extreme horror. So, this is the video. This is me telling you how I got started with extreme horror. Again, I'm not an expert, okay? So, yeah, that's just how I did it. If you want to use that as if you want to use the way I did it as a template to get started, then by all means do so. If not, and you want to carve out your own little niche with extreme horror, then hey, you're welcome to it. Anyway, this is going to post on Thursday afternoon. So until then, you guys, please be safe out there and take care, okay? Bye-bye.